Yeah, I have complete faith that when I hit the go live button, it actually goes live. Do I know it goes live? I have no idea. If somebody tells me they see it later, then I'll know that maybe it did. But otherwise, I'm just trusting that
Do
that's what
you know if any, do you know if anybody sees it, the live broadcast? I don't know.
well, that's it. A few people I know have had and have gotten back to me on that. So that's one of the things that I think that we all have faith in, right? We pick up our cell phone or we go on the internet and we expect to connect. We expect when we type in facebook.com to get Facebook. So we have faith with respect to that connection.
Every
But
time I
what
hit the light switch, I have faith.
but what is faith?
So
Yeah.
here, I'm going to start
Subject of
over.
the day.
So that 101 question, the big question is
If would prophecies come true if we did absolutely nothing about them?
would prophecies come true if we did nothing about them? Yes.
I'm undecided. I think I think something would happen, but I also think we have something to do with it. I think if we know about change and we see stuff going down in the world and we do absolutely nothing about it, will it change? Possibly. Would it change faster if we do something? Maybe. Would it get, would we just get in the way of it if we tried too hard? Maybe. But if we really have nothing to do with it, then we should just sit back and have a party. Like, who cares?
Everybody knows soccer.
Yep.
We
Okay, so if you start a game of soccer and you put the ball in the center of the field, but nobody says start and nobody moves, the ball is not gonna go in any goal. Huh? If you wait on the prophecies to move it, maybe a gust of wind will roll the ball to the goal. But do you wait for the wind or you start taking action to put the ball in one side or the other side? Your decision. You take the action or you wait on the wind? Or you just pray and don't take action? So I do think that some people get messages, the crazy one like us, the one that I call the crazies that hear stuff and feel compelled to do something different with their life. If we don't do any action, when we feel we're being called upon to, maybe we're just there to make things go a bit faster, maybe stronger.
I like what you said there, Danny, because well over 30 years ago, I was going around saying to people, the people that we make fun of and we think are just ridiculous are going to be the ones that save us because we just don't understand them yet. And I was saying that like 30 years ago, and people looked at me like I was really nuts.
well, you were.
Yes, I had to change my tinfoil hat several times.
Mine is crowned by the time I shine it. So
Well,
uh, for me, it's the people that are part of the system. The well-educated one. No offense to anybody listening, but the university, the doctors, everything that the mind goes only one way to one point. So, uh, or the black sheep of the family, the odd ones. I think we're the one that are more connected somehow because we don't tend to converge to one point in life. I think you call it the pyramid of Maslow pyramid.
Maslow
You
hierarchy.
know, So the more you get educated, the more you go toward the top of a pyramid, and you excel at one thing in life, but only one thing. But you're going to be the best of it, because all the knowledge tends to one place. You know, the odd people like us, I call us more seekers of not the truth because we had that subject, but seekers of we're seeking answers in life, even to if fate has something to do with us, So I think we go from one little base and we extend, we open the pyramids all open because we gather stuff from all around to make one decision on, you know. It's not we're not going there. We're opening up actually, opening up our mind, our spirit, our energy, and everything that goes with us. Our faith and what is it that you said? The prophecies. Hmm?
Yeah.
Prophecy sounds biblic, like Bible or whatever, or
Well, he
what is
inspires.
meant to be, or
Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of indigenous prophecies and stuff like that.
okay,
That's what was in my mind at the time.
yeah,
But
well,
it applies to all things, I think. Like it's not just indigenous or anything like that. So
yeah, but the last 150 years, the cross has been put down forcibly in the head of indigenous. So,
yeah,
so
that's why they call it.
they will speak at prophecies.
They
But,
talk about the Bible Belt, and it's because they used to use it to beat people.
yeah, in some reservation up north, if you do a smudge or a sweat ceremony, they kick you out of the res, huh? You know, and
Yeah,
you better be at church on the Sunday, or else it's bad for you on the reservation.
And that's
So,
part of their faith that they believe is right. That's why the
yeah.
whole question of faith really catches me in a different way, because there's been a lot of harm done based on people's faith and what they believe to be true.
We go back to
So
the truth. Huh?
can I jump in?
Oh yeah, as
maybe.
a kangaroo.
Okay, fine. I'll wait then. It's too cold to talk. Um, I've thought of that question too, Thunder Bear. Not right at the moment, like it comes and goes in my thinking, and not just specifically with Indigenous or whatever, just anyone that's put out prophecies, and my perspective is it depends. I think I kind of come from the viewpoint that, like, if we're energetic beings, right, we're just energy. If the focus is on it, then we kind of amplify it or create it. It's like this, like Danny's saying about the soccer ball. Like we can have a whole lot of people standing around a soccer ball and doing absolutely nothing about it, or we can all put our energy into it and start kicking at the ball and going for it, and it makes it do something. If we don't, and we sit back and it's just there, right? It doesn't move unless without intention, I guess. I'm not explaining this very well, I don't feel. Does it have to be, I guess my question is does it have to be considered a prophecy just because someone says it is? I think that there are people that can pick up on and interpret and feel the potentiality of stuff that could happen. My question when thinking about this is that does it have to happen though? Or is it just because people go like, oh, someone's had a prophecy, well, it's going to happen, and then we put all of our energy and our worrying and our thoughts in it. It's like a belief. It's holding a belief. Does it serve you in any way to have a horrible prophecy come to fruition, sort of thing? This is sort of, I haven't got a firm answer, so this is just my speculation is what, do we, I think the potential is there for a good result or a bad result in anything. And do we put our energy into it and make it happen on a not conscious level?
Well, we do that, but I think it's so multi-layered. It's actually no one answer to that question.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think it's somewhere between kicking the ball and knowing when to just watch where it goes and see where it ends up. It's not about necessarily kicking it into the net where we thought it was supposed to go. It's just in that general direction, and then seeing where that leads.
Hmm.
Like, because the goal might be outside of the stadium. You know what I mean? It might be in some other way that we don't understand yet.
Mm.
And that's almost always how it ends up. So it's a combination of both. It's like knowing when to kick and knowing when to sit there or just be with the energy to see where it is. And there's no book ever written that clearly defines that.
No.
Like the one thing I used to say, oh geez, what was it now? It slipped my mind. I'll get back to it. You guys go ahead. I got to think about this for a second.
I was thinking of what Joan was saying too about, with the Bible sort of stuff, that there's a lot of damage that has been done from people putting their faith into or saying this is how it is. So that's where I think into the potential of it is that, is it something that we kind of drive to the goal of, or is it, do we actively create it?
It's both.
Yeah. Does it have to be then, I think collectively we all input something into whatever, depending on your perspective of it, of any situation, but does it have to be? Does it? No, I think it doesn't.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know enough anyway, because I'm just here in this body going like, okay, well, I'm having a conversation with these other four people, and yeah.
For me, it's prophecy can be good or bad, so depending on how you use it, as anything else on the planet, so we tag religion as bad because of some of the past they did, but they did good too, so there's good and bad in everything. So exactly. If the prophecies, I know some natives use, they say we are at the 7-hour prophecies right now. So it's talked a lot on the internet and everything. The red people will start caring more and more for Mother Earth and take more of their place and everything. It's a big change. But is it prophecies or is it the rightful order of life? It's coming back, the balance of the medicine wheel, the what we spoke before, the red people and the black people were squished to the extension of the yellow and the white, so the wheel is out of balance. So maybe just natural order of things, so maybe with the vision of a religion, we call them prophecies, as native, I personally, I know some native will say it's prophecies too, because a lot of people talk about it. But my personal view on it, it's more of a rightful of re-management of the what's wrong on Earth. There's too much of things that are out of sync, out of whack. So it's just, Mother Earth will always know how to rebalance herself. It's just whatever the name we put on it, If you feel more comfortable as if you're God and the Christian Bible and you call it a prophecy, okay. But we skip the thing is, does it depend on us or not? The priest can be in front of the church and pray or do all his thing and everything for his people, if there's a drought in the village, but nobody go drill to get a well, to get water to supply the crop, they're gonna die. Even if he talks all day, whatever. Sometimes as human, we're here in that physical form because sometimes we do need to take action, not just words. Some people use the word. The priest use the word in front of him to try to have people taking some action, but he's actually taking some action by talking. But some people sometimes need to take the shovel and do the digging. There's many layers of people on Earth, there's a many level of evolution. There must be somebody for each level. If everybody's on the top, nothing's gonna work. Nobody's gonna pick up the garbage. We're gonna be filled like with, So there is a natural order of things that need to be there, and that's why we're in that physical form that we so-called have, as the human body. If we're all spirits, well why we need Earth? We don't need that. We're all energy. So that's it. For me, it's like anything. If you do nothing, you shall not expect anything. If you take action convert to reaction. I often use that metaphor or that saying for the younger people. The younger generation. Sometimes they tend to not take any action in life. They're waiting for guidance or something. I say, a still water is gonna rot. There's no movement. You go in a pond, no movement, no nothing, no fish, nothing moves in it. The water rot is things you can't drink it, you can't do nothing with it. It's rotten water. But if you put some actions of movement in it, the water will always stay clean and usable, for better yourself. So if you don't do nothing, don't expect nothing in life, And obviously, the people like us, the crazy one, I like to call us crazy because I've been called crazy a lot lately. And yeah, a lot.
Welcome to the club.
Great.
Huh?
Welcome to the club.
But at least I have a feeling that we try to do something. Maybe we don't do the right thing. But then again, the science of intention. If you have the intention to do good with your action, at least there is movement in the water. You're not still. So soccer ball, leave it in the center. If the hand of God don't bring the whiff of wind to throw the ball in one or the other goal, don't know which one. There's no action. I'm done. I'll be ready for fate, though. I have my answer for fate later. I had 24 hours to think about it since yesterday.
Joan, did you want to share?
No?
Don't tell me I cover everything already.
I want to comment on what
Okay.
we've been talking about, like good outcome or bad outcome, and it's hard to get away from that. And I get stuck on that one a lot too. I think a lot of the new agey kind of movement got stuck, and they spun their wheels on bunches of things. And the one thing was, say if I'm seeing a friend of mine standing on the railroad tracks and I'm going, there's a train coming, you shouldn't stand there. And they look at me and go, why are you being so negative? I'm saying, well, honestly, I see the trains coming. I feel the ground shaking. I think you're going to get hit by a train if you stand there. And they look at me, God, you got to be so negative. Why so negative? Why are you going to be such a bummer? So then I just step aside, watch them get hit by the train. They go, why didn't you make me move? What kind of person are you? And I was like, well, you get to make your choice. You get to stand where you got to stand. I can warn you once, I can warn you twice. So it's negative and positive gets to be gray area quite often for me, because when, each of us, when wherever we're stuck and someone comes up and goes, don't stand there, you're stuck there. You look at, like something feels not right inside because we feel threatened, and all the, all the psychological stuff you could throw at that, and you feel awkward and you feel embarrassed or ashamed. Like there's a whole long list of stuff. Does that make it negative because you didn't feel good in that moment? It could be the most positive thing in your whole life, and you're just casting a shadow on it because you don't understand the feeling, where it come from. So positive and negative is just a weird one. And I think the whole new agey movement's like, no one was throwing rose petals. I didn't feel perfectly great in that moment. It can't be good. And I think they just get stuck, never changing because of that.
Or yeah,
In
or
their
they
perception
want to
of it.
view,
Yeah.
or they want to view every experience as positive, and it's like, no. Sometimes it's just crap. We can spin it and try and make it positive in our heads, but sometimes just lousy things happen.
You should have faith in the decision you took at that moment is the right decision for that moment.
Yep.
Well,
With a good positive outcome when you do it with the intention of doing good. You might do bad at the end, but if your intention was honorable and faithful and positive to have a positive outcome for that person, how could you be judged in a bad way? Because your intention were honorable and good and positive for.
well, you might think your intentions are honorable and good, and other people might think they're not, right? Like,
Yes, but
you know,
for yourself.
I just like kind of go with the fact that if it's like we're all in a role. Okay, so if the creator source is the director and the play is healing will happen throughout the world. There will be peace throughout the world. That's the movie world. And we've all signed up to play our character. Now in that character, we get to pause and rest, and other times we think we're doing things and we're making things happen and we're having all kinds of experiences. What if that's just what it is? We're just having the experiences of how this manifests based on wherever we are in the multidimensionality of the experience. And that's, so sometimes you're just watching the soccer ball, and if it's like today, for me, it was totally, completely calm. There was barely anything moving, no breeze. And then all of a sudden, the soccer ball would have moved. It was this massive gust of wind came, and everything moved from one side of the yard to the other side. And then it was, I think that's the first time I've experienced that. Just a complete dramatic shift, no sense, nothing, and then right back to calmness. So maybe that's all we're here to do is an experience. So would a prophecy, that's my thing, is, well, if someone's prophesizing to say humanity's all going to come together, or help and healing are going to occur all throughout the earth, or peace on earth, I knew for me, there was just always something in me that said, yeah, that's going to happen in my lifetime. So whether or not I read the movie script before I signed up for the role, I don't know, but that's how I feel.
I think I'll still go back to that. I think it's a combination of all of those things. You know what I mean? Just like if you we're going to use the analogy of a soccer game, you still got to get off and sit on the sideline and observe where the play is going, how the players are playing, and make a strategy, make a game plan, and then jump back on the field and go try to deploy it to see if you can, but the difference in it is when you're on the sideline, you're not making, most people will make a strategy based on themselves as opposed to based on what spirit is guiding them to do. And a lot of people will be seamless in the way they interact with spirit. And I think a lot of the super gifted athletes are, because they like a goalie can see in slow motion. That's how they're able to stop a puck going so fast, and they make it look easy. They stick their glove up and catch that puck like it really doesn't matter, So I think in all aspects of life, in sports and even in music and everything that can be a distraction in our lives, actually the gift is still there, in there somewhere. And Joan will know this, or anyone that's done any drumming. Years ago, we had the youth group at the Unity Church. We had, I don't know, there was 100 kids there. We had this guy show up with all these noisemakers, and it's just absolute noise. And then about every 5 minutes, it would turn into this symphony that was brilliant beyond measure for just a short while. And then it would go back to just noise. And then it would weave this amazing thing. And that's just kind of how life is. like when you're in the city or wherever, like it seems like a lot of noise and stuff you don't understand going on. So many myriad of musical things going on and different things, and then all of a sudden it just meshes, and this like symphony shows up and just plays like flawless, and 100% everyone in that room, in their own mind, is in their own world doing their own thing, yet spirit melts it together in such an unbelievably perfect way. It's incredible. That I remember that day so clearly, watching that happen about 3 or 4 times, and it was just, for me, it was awe-inspiring. It was kind of blowing me away, and I get the same sort of stuff, when I used to go to the ceremonies out west a lot, and it'd be over the 4 days. That would be the 4 days of everybody doing their own thing and all that sort of stuff, and all of a sudden it would just mesh and come together in these moments that were just so crystal clear and played so perfectly. And I think probably I stopped seeing it when I logically go, oh, look at that. And then I kind of disconnect from it because I'm thinking too hard. And then it's like, oh, I missed that. I kind of interrupted that. And, and I think that's the same in my life. It's like I have this huge array of noises going on in my life, and then all of a sudden it just meshes, and I have this clarity, and I'm sitting there just looking at it going like, wow. And instead of just basking in it, it would probably last longer, but then my logical mind kind of picks up and starts running and thinking, oh, you know what, I got to call Danny and ask him what a partridge means, and like all that sort of stuff, right?
Well, then we move from experiencing that happening to try and hold on to it or make it happen again. And as soon as that happens, then you click out. That used to be one of the most magical things about drumming. You would, as you said, and I experienced that just a ton, watching that ebb and flow. And then afterwards, people would say, oh, let's do that again. And it's like, well, you can't. You have to show up. You have to have your drum. You have to be in that space. You can allow it to happen, but partly make it happen, and then enjoy the experience just by being present.
It's like a parent saying to their kid, okay, sit down. We're going to have quality time right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
Quality time just comes from doing it often, and then it just shows up. It just shows up. So, and that's the same. That's kind of like what we're talking about. What faith is that we're always, I think, trying to move the ball in one direction or another, and it's just when we can stay open, and we see that symphony play once in a while.
Yeah.
And because, and I think that can be elongated, and that can be stretched out for longer periods of time when you're in that whatever form that is in your mind. Like for me, the longest runs of that for me were years ago whenever I do a workshop, I hit the ebb and flow thing. But when Jacqueline and I actually did the tour, that was elongated like I've never seen before. Those moments where every day we kind of just really sat back and we're just in awe of how it meshed, without trying to think about it, without trying to interrupt it, without trying to call someone and go, wonder what that meant,
For me, every question that we ask ourselves since I started streaming with you guys all comes back to one simple teaching: is the feather. With the sand, everything depends on where you look or you stand looking at the feather. So as human, we all have a different vision of the same thing. Call it prophecies, or whatever you call it religion, call it God, call it the creator. It's always depend where you stand looking at one thing. There's the saying, you can't judge a person without walking in his shoes. So you can't make a decision for the other person looking at the feather from the different angle than you. He has a different views on everything, which shall bring the second best teaching is respect. Respect everything. Respect other view. Respect everything. So I personally don't like religious people or religion. but I do aspire of trying to understand the way of thinking towards it. For some people, religion was salvation. For some people, it was damnation. For a lot of native. It's always depend where you stand in life. So that it's we're talking about faith or prophecies or whatever. It's always depend where you are, and often is at the exact moment of where the question was asked. Or you have to think about it because our own perception of the feather change with time. Time, space, and dimension. It changed. So I don't think that we should, as human, ever experience the answer of, or do we need to have an answers of all those questions, or we should just live through them and seek our own explanation of it, or our own experience, or just live it. So I don't think any one of us should write a book about what is prophecies or fate or whatever, because you're going to reach a certain audience, for sure, but is that the goal of life, having a good audience? I don't think so. I think as to grow as individual, all those questions are also personal. I was thinking about fate since yesterday because I tried to come on the live feed yesterday. So I switched from prophecies to fate. Okay, Walking Turtle. Some Thunder Bear and Walking Turtle knows what I've been working on for over like 7 years now. And last week I had faith that everything would have happened, but something, as usual, always a little twing to do. So I said, hey, this week should happen. So if there's no faith in what I do, or no belief or trust in what I do, I would have stopped a long time ago. I've put a lot of things on hold, personal things, personal life, big stuff towards my value of the faith I have into it. So for me, and I only talk of me because I'm looking the further at the different angle than you guys. For me, faith has been a way to help me move forward. Without any faith, I would say that when I quit construction and to retire, I was asking myself, what will I do with my life? I'm a guy that gets bored very easily when I do nothing. I meditate 1 hour if I can concentrate a lot, and that's a lot for me. After that, what do I do with 23 hours left in the one day? So I always keep myself busy, but I made the deal with the creator or God or the big spirit, or call him all you want. I said, the time I have left, I will put my faith into your guidance. And I will do whatever I think that you're asking of me. Okay, and that's why people call me crazy, because I talk to invisible God or spirit or whatever. So, even aliens, I don't care, whoever it is, but So because I do trust into the faith I have, so the closest way I can say it is I put my faith in the hand of God or the creation, okay, to guide me. So I trust him enough, or I trust enough the creation to guide me to where I am needed to do some action, because I will, if I see the soccer ball, I'm the kind of guy that's going to kick it. I'm not just going to look at it, so. And that's me, so, but the guy want to look at it, hey, I respect them. Right? Don't dirty your shoes, It's your choice. It's your life. Your physical body, use your life the way you shall see fit for yourself. So that was my answer, Walking Turtle, to faith. So for me, it's I put myself in the end of the creation to guide me or to do whatever I'm supposed to do. So that's where lays my faith into. But I did lose faith in humanity through COVID. Okay, because I saw so much stuff that made me lose faith. I said, wow. I think humanity should have 2 big meteorites flush everybody and restart. But sometimes I see one little thing, one little gesture out of nowhere that made me say, "Oh, so I think there's still enough faith in humanity that there's still good people. There's still people fighting for having a better place. It's still worth to fight or to keep the water moving. You know, even though we know we're not gonna get the benefits of it, but I think that for the next generation, we need to have faith of what we do to keep on doing what we need to be do or what needs to be done if we want the prophecies or whatever to fulfill themselves. So yeah, somehow, I personally I think that as human we need to take action because we do have free will, but you still have the free will of doing something or doing nothing. You know, so I think some people are called upon to take action, and if you feel the calling to take action, you should act. If you don't. But that was personal view of my own experience. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do or should they do or whatever. It's a personal experience. Conclusion to my own life.
And I
That's it.
think it's the personal experience that convinces us of what we might say is faith, right? Like it's like there is a feeling inside me that when I have that feeling, it's like I can trust it. And even though it may not seem that way. So just using the bear yesterday, for example. So when I saw the bear, I was actually pretty gosh darn calm in my body, like surprised that there was a bear, okay? And that he was just kind of meandering down my path and that like, I didn't hear him. Like it was like he just came out of nowhere. Yet when I listen to other people, and so the funny thing is Danny's like nice, right? Someone else says, "Oh, I think that's a blessing." So I got like 3 positive comments back, sort of like that's a good thing. Then you got the other people when I was saying that the bear, right? And and beware, and all this other conversation. And so it's like I could feel this sort of this energy starting to swirl, you know, relating to I should be more fearful of the bear versus I was actually calm. Fairly, you know, like I wouldn't say I was ready to go, "Hey, Mr. Bear, let's have a face-to-face." No, I wasn't in that space, but
You don't want to hug the bear.
yeah. Yet, so there was something in me that was like, this is okay. This was just, I was kind of expecting the bear was going to have to make an appearance because all the other animals had. And so it was like, that was that moment. And it was really uneventful for all the things that I could have created in my mind or imagined of how I would encounter a bear.
I'm sure the bear went home and said to his buddies, "Hey, I saw a human today." Wonder what that means.
It's funny. My last 2 trips to Montreal, I saw each time I saw a mama bear with 2 cubs, and 2 different roads, totally opposite. And last time my mom was with me, said, "Oh, so nice." What is the bear? What is the black bear on the Mi'kmaq territory? What they talk about prophecies or thing that should happen. The bear is the healing part. He's the teacher of the healing. He teaches us medicine. Are we in the phase that we're going towards healing? Or do we need the medicine? So I never heard of so many people saying black bears lately. They're all coming out. Well, what is the phenomena? Is there something behind it or just natural because it's too hot or it's too dry or no? Are they coming out of their habitat? The habitat is being destroyed, but from last year to this year is the same. Never saw a black bear last year. You saw one, I saw twice with the babies, you know. So I never saw so many black bears. It occurs more and more. I don't know why. You know, maybe there's nothing to it. We lost, I think we lost Mama Bear. No, walking turtle.
Oh, good.
Sorry, I call you Mama Bear.
I thought the bear got you.
I, the other people's thoughts could have got me. However, that concept of faith, I think the faith of what I feel in my body is what I navigate towards, right? Like that feels more comforting. So I've got a faith, or I've learned to convince myself the faith of what I'm experiencing in here is more true to me than anything that anybody else is saying. So if it doesn't resonate with me, it can kerfuffle me. Ultimately, it's like that wind, the gust of wind that unsettles everything. But then I come back to and go, well, what is it? It feels true to me, and that's the faith that I would have in that, whatever that is.
Well, I think that's what kind of COVID showed me, is that so many people would succumb to what everyone around them is saying without trusting what they're feeling. So like the media machine and all that stuff were saying, oh my God, you have to be afraid of this. So everybody gathered in that little pile and go, oh my God, everything outside of this is horrible. Right. And then I was like, checking in going, I'm thinking I don't want to be in that pile. and it was interesting watching that whole dynamic play out.
Well, all they were doing was following what they believed in and what their faith was. So it really wasn't that different from you.
Except for the influences on them.
But you have different influences.
Well, for sure. And
so really, we're all the same.
Yes, except for it's just
except that you're right and they're wrong.
No, it can't be that. It can't be that. It's just the awareness of why are we choosing what we're choosing. And it's not, I'm not saying the pile they were in, like I'm looking at it going like, they're horrible, they're bad. I was looking at it going like, I just kind of wish that they didn't have to gang up in that. And it turned out to be like a gang, a gang that went around kind of bashing everyone that didn't agree with them. My heart goes out to them. I'm not judging them like they're horrible people, because I thought, honestly, my honest opinion is that there was hundreds and thousands of wonderfully lovely people that kind of got duped into having those feelings. And I really believe if they, just like we dupe ourselves, like we get to choose how we set ourselves up, for sure. Like we all do. Like it is exactly the same mechanism that got them to go where they went, is the same mechanism that got me to go where I chose to go. Except for me, I can see the variance in it, where mine's a little bit more, just a little bit more free, I would like to think. And maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm just trapping myself. I don't even know that, honestly, 100%. But I'd like to think that I'm doing that, because that's kind of my goal, is to experience more of the freedom and not be programmed or dictated or led to follow by an external influence other than between me and creator. But it's like I said that to Jacqueline before too. I said the wonderful thing about all these people that got them to go into this big gang, it's the same mechanism when they get the right information or better information that's going to rally them. It's how we are all programmed and made and designed, is choosing whatever we want to take in as our truth and then acting out on it. So it's the exact same mechanism that I think is going to set us free. It's the same mechanism that's been keeping us trapped in this, allowing these outside influences. It's the same mechanism that's going to set us free. If that makes any sense.
Probably. I missed a part of it, so I can't actually say. What I do want to say, though, is like when I was in my teenage years and I started to have health issues, okay, I wanted those health issues solved. And I was doing everything I could to solve it and going through every possibility. And when the doctor finally said, "Oh, this is what you have," I was like, praise God, hallelujah. Because that's all I knew was the doctor had the answer. Okay?
You froze again, Jacqueline. Hopefully you can hear that.
Unless she's taking a very dramatic pause. It was only after a few years of like probably 5 years of going to see the doctor every few months to get my blood work and to talk about, to update on what's going on, that I started to, go, you don't really know what's going on. Like, I'm a subject, I'm a specimen, I'm an experiment. Like, those thoughts started to percolate within me. So I had great empathy and stuff for the people with COVID, because for me, it was like, in my life, that was it. I was like, praise God, hallelujah, the doctor's got the answer. I'm going to be, my life is going to be manageable, to, oh my gosh, you don't have a freaking clue what's going on, and I'm just your guinea pig, and there's got to be another option. And then finding mind body stuff and conversation in Eastern medicine and starting down that journey, but still even then not having the right answer. So I think a lot of people, that was what this COVID thing for me was. It was a confrontation of, like Joan said, they were just doing what they said. They had faith in their doctor. They had faith in the medical system because that's all they knew, right? And then there might have been that churning inside. Like, it took me, 5 years before I started to say, like, this can't be it. I'm not going to listen to him. I'm not going to have kids. My life is basically going to be on drugs for the rest of my life. Like, no. So I think that's what people are going through now in their own way, is they're starting to see the medical system is closing down in so many ways. They're getting moved from specialist to specialist. Now they're on a phone. Now we're just going to take your body parts and turn you into the bionic woman, Joan.
But yeah, well, I had exactly the opposite experience. Never went to the doctor, cleared, healed myself holistically, did herbs and did medicines from nature, and ended up with cancer. So I had to turn to Western medical. Well, Greg saw me. I mean, this tumor just started to grow. But up until that point in time, I had every faith that natural medicine would keep me healthy and strong for a long time. And never was involved with the medical system since I was 5 and had my tonsils out. So.
Well, and you wandered into it, but you're back to doing what now?
Well, working on my immune system, but that's in partnership also with Western medicine and my doctor, right? Because I don't like to throw a blanket over everyone that happens to be in a system, because I think there's a lot of people that are inside that medical profession that are also looking for a way out and a way to be more true to themselves and more open to different ideas. At least my oncologist is. When I talk to her about different things, she is so open. And she started to attend meditation retreats and all kind, and is a very spiritual. And I think she's also looking for a way to work in partnership rather than have it this us against them situation where you've got to be all natural, where you've got to be all Western, I experienced watching somebody, and Greg has heard this story many times, of a guy who snapped his Achilles tendon we were in a drum circle, and he was dancing. So everybody gathered around. They had the bells and the arnica cream and poultices and all that kind of stuff. And saw him about 6 weeks later, and he was in a hip to ankle cast, because that was the thing that was going to help him. Only he left it too long, so they had to do surgeries and like all kinds of stuff. So I sometimes have difficulty with the all or nothing from both sides, because that doesn't bring us together. you know. So when I hear that Western medicine and that and the pharmaceutical, and it's like it has its place, but not as a leader or an influencer, but more as a resource. And I've kept that in mind during my cancer journey. It's like these people are a resource, but they're not going to dictate my life. So I can take that from them what I need and discard the rest. Like there was a lot of shit that they wanted me to do, and it was like, oh, absolutely not. You know. So maybe with the COVID thing, people just allowed them to dictate rather than be a resource. You know, because when I did the check-in about the vaccine with me, there was absolutely nothing that was deterring me from getting the vaccine, and I felt quite autonomous making that decision. So it's interesting.
There's faith and there's blind faith too, you know.
Absolutely.
Balance.
So what's the difference?
But blind faith is you're never wrong, and you will go in this direction no matter what the consequences are. Yeah, I've changed. I've had faith in a lot of different things that have ended up hurting me in the end. And so I had to change my mind and say I was wrong about that, or I'm going to take a piece that's useful from that. But that blind faith, it's like when you run into the person that says, you know, you can pray the gay away, or you can do all those kinds, like it's just focused. And we saw that during COVID. Like there was only one way to do things, and that was it.
Yeah.
And
Blind faith is when you lost the ability to think.
Yep.
Okay, it's an indoctrination, you know. I'm gonna stereotype, you know, one Jewish religion in front of one Arabic guy. They both have very, very strong faith in the religion. Put them face to face, you know, they stop being human.
Yeah.
Okay, the two religious mind confronting each other's views.
Yeah, and you could really see that happen during COVID.
Yeah, and they use their faith as a tool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where faith is misguided.
Yeah.
You know, because faith, as I said, faith could be beneficiary or it could be your damnation. So depend how you use it, like any other tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for me during COVID, I watched people and it was like, oh, you were always an underlying asshole. I just never knew that about you.
Well,
this is what brought it to the surface, you know, because there was such what people said about other human beings. It was just like, oh, you've always been this way. I just never knew that. I was surprised by some of the folks that I saw exhibiting that behavior, but it really made me look at them and go, interesting.
Apparently,
it's not so bad after all.
yeah, apparently, I'm crazier than I ever thought I was. So, and you know what?
Tanya,
I like the title.
whatever you did, Tanya, there's no more buzzing on your mic.
Yes, she was the one with the buzz, huh?
You went off and came back on, and there's zero buzzing on your mic now, which is great.
Yeah.
Don't touch anything. Have faith.
Oh,
Well, we actually don't know it was Tanya. It could simply be a connection between here and Australia, right? And they've you know, shifted things. We don't.
Could be.
It was frozen.
I know when Joan was going through her dance with cancer and that, and like she'd confide in me about all natural people that were going, oh my God, she's going to the dark side now, and all this stuff, and people were praying for her that she would all of a sudden snap out of it and be awake. And for me, like she went in directions that I personally didn't think I could go in, but that's up to her. And it didn't change my amount of respect and love for her on the journey. Like, you know, I was always there, and it's like, well, whatever you need. But it was like you know, and we need more of that outwardly in the world for sure. And yeah, and I get stuck too sometimes, for sure. If you listen to me and just take what I'm saying in that moment, you're going to think that I think the medical system is just a bunch of idiots running around wrecking the world and destroying us. Like, yeah, and I do feel that way sometimes, but I actually do get that there's lots of wonderful stuff that they do, you know.
Mm.
But I think I used to have that issue years ago when I was at the Unity Church. There was like the politics inside the church. And I said, just because this person is really good at this and that does have some benefit, do we actually just let them do whatever they want without consequence? It's like, no, you got to have real conversations with people saying like, okay, this is good. Now, you're really good at this. Now stay in that lane and quit running over everybody else. And that's the same with the medical system. Like there's a whole list of things that you're good at, but we can't let you run this whole world. And I think that's kind of what happened with the COVID thing. It was like a runaway train saying we have to give them all the control, all the apples, and see what happens with that. And that was, that's not in balance. That's not in balance.
Well, it's perfectly imbalanced if the sense is it was to show the monopolization of the imbalance of the pharmaceutical control with the medical system.
Yes.
So yes, there's definite advantages to the medical system, and there's definite gifts, and there's no one right answer for everyone. It was happening from my perspective perfectly, like in the sense that mothers, so many moms already knew from their own experiences with vaccines that their child was healthy until they got a vaccine, and then they weren't healthy anymore. They weren't talking. They were, whatever. And they were always like, oh, no, nothing's going on, right?
No.
Yep, gone again. Well, what Jackie was saying just reminded me of what you were talking about when you talked about how people get very narrow when they begin to study things and how they don't open up. And for me too, it's just another example. It just happened to be the pharmaceutical industry, because people run down that road with power and control. We've seen it in the church, we've seen it in governments. It goes back thousands of years. People just pick a thing and then either are led by it or use it just to crush people.
Again, yeah. So like Jacqueline was saying, there's no right answer on it. And I do know that even though when I'm voicing an opinion on something, it sounds like I have just one opinion. But in that moment, I do, right? In that moment, I have one opinion, but over the course of an hour, I will have several opinions.
Mm.
Well,
Yep.
Is it really an opinion, or is it just the thought that comes to you at that moment?
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah. For me, that's that concept of knowing, just like when we went on that trip, everything's happening perfectly and for everybody. And so to have that centralized control, if you wanted to look at that, is for people to realize that centralized control's always been there, right? You've always been indoctrinated about how your life is supposed to go. That's the way it's been. Whether or not you participated or believed it, there was this overall framework. COVID just was in your face about it. And that, to me, that's what needed to happen in order for there to be a breakdown. So you could have a breakthrough, so people could question it. Like, I was in Tim Hortons the other day, and we probably could have gone through the drive-through 5 times, okay, if we hadn't stood in line. We were there for half an hour, and I took full advantage. There was 2 young guys on either side of me. So yes, you're giggling. And so I was like, so has the COVID narrative changed with your friends? And so there must have been another 20 people standing behind us, and they're like, wow, yeah. And they started talking a little bit, It's like, I'm so glad we're not wearing the mask. And I was like, oh, you wore the mask? And like, well, didn't everybody? I was like, no. It's like, you didn't? It's like, no, why would I wear the mask, right? Like, if it was about health, I want to be able to breathe. And anyways, it it was a big, huge dialogue. And then the one guy says, "Oh, did you hear about? I saw a documentary on the birth certificate that they bonded us and they sell us." And you go, imagine if that's true. And I'm going, I think it is true. And he's like, really? And the other guy's like, really? And I was definitely talking in a much louder voice than I would normally between the two of them, because I knew that there was all this other group. They just were just sitting there. And I was enjoying the process. Was I, what's the word? Was I doing it out of service? No. Was I doing it more of like, I was having a good time watching some of the facial expressions about some of the things that I was saying? Absolutely.
It was good entertainment value, was it?
Right? Because now you do know, like you said, it's gone past, but you can still see how some of these people are like, oh, you wouldn't have done that, or you didn't do that, right? Everybody's where they need to be in order to see what they need to see. And that might sound like it's a catchphrase. Ultimately, I think when we can all get there, we just respect that everybody's right where they need to be. And just like Joan was like just said, the total opposite, right? Miss all natural, and then to Western medicine, which is not a story you hear very often, Joan. Right?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is I know a few people that have gone that way, but because of the shit you get from people when they find out you've gone the Western medicine route, it's brutal. I had to cut a lot of people out of my life because of the kind of, no, you've got to do this. And it's like, by the time I had surgery, they took out 2 16-centimeter tumors and 27 pounds of fluid. So it was one of those emergency situations where comfrey root was not going to cut it. And I'd been treating the symptoms naturally and didn't work. And the pushback was brutal from all these open-minded, caring, spiritual people. And then started the blaming about why this occurred and what I'd done wrong. And it was very interesting. It's like, oh, you got to go. Oh, and so do you. Oh, and so do you. It's like, wow. Because like, I don't mind admitting that I'm wrong, right? But it's when you're being told as almost like a one-upmanship. This is my opportunity to show you, and it was like, wow, this is brutal.
Yeah, one of the stories that I used to share in the circle of friends was a man who had depression, and he started to tune in and do Einstein and wanted a healing of his depression, and he developed gallstones, and he had to go to the hospital to get his gallstones removed. And the story goes, he says, I was so angry.
You cut out again, Jacqueline. Any minute, she'll be back.
Here she is.
It was like the story, the gallstones went away, but in the process of him being in the hospital, he remembered when he was born, he was put in an incubator. And so as basically just a newborn infant, he thought the world was awful and he didn't want to feel anything, and he would act like a stone. And so this whole thought process that he got was what he created in the hospital had to be removed in the hospital. So when he removed the gallstones, his depression went away, right? And that, I share that because it's like we never know how things are going to happen. It's when we become attached. It's like you say, we grab onto that one moment. We grab onto what we were saying about blind faith. We say, this is it. It can only be this way. I have got no other room to open my hand. But when we discover we open our hand, we got 5 fingers, and those are at least going in different directions, right? Like there's so much more than we actually know.
Yeah.
I'm still here, but you guys are talking.
Some of us are listening.
Like the perspective of the feather, and I'll express myself looking at the feather from the perspective that I have in that moment. And then 20 minutes later, I could be on the other side of the feather, and each time I will express myself like I really believe what I'm seeing as the truth. And yet I can change it in a moment's notice and describe it completely different. And I've been like that my whole life. And people always thought like, wow, like you're all over the place. And it's like, well, I view it as not all over. It's still just one place. It's still always just one center, but just a varying views of that one center. And like we're just talking about it, like you were just saying it too, Jacqueline and Joan and everyone else here, right? How people get stuck and used to just having the one perspective, and they want to stick to that, and they don't want to change no matter what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
No, this is it. This is my daddy was raised this way, and I'm going to stay this way no matter what, because like it was good for my daddy. And you hear that, like, parents going, well, when I was your age, right? That worked for me, so it's got to work for you. So why are you trying to change things? And I find that statement, it was always like, to me, a statement that might as well have said this is, I am never changing, so why are you trying to change me? That's what they're really saying.
And please don't dare change in front of me. You're not allowed to change either.
If people will remember that the first code of humanity is love, and the way they treated you, John, in regard of your choice of taking this or this medicine, if they would have just seen you and with love in their heart and their mind, they would have chosen to respect your own choice, out of love. So, it's the position we are, and we have to try to face life with the love connection inside of us for everything. So
Yep.
I always said that they always did the T-shirt wrong. They say peace and love. Me, I say love then peace. So if you base yourself or your not the judgment, but the place where you look with love inside of you, the feather even looks brighter and nicer on your side, and probably for the other. Maybe other people can see on their side the love shining through the feather also. Then you can join both sides of the feather together in respect. So 3 simple teaching: love, respect, and where you stand to in regard to the feather. So
And the
I think
merry-go-round. And the merry-go-round, because then you get on the merry-go-round, you go around to the other side, and you jump off. You get the different perspective.
Oh yeah, but I get seasick. I don't. Well, I just go around.
You don't really ever have to even change your perspective of the feather. You don't have to. But what makes it more necessary for a better world is to respect other people's different opinions of that. So, like,
yeah, but
some people can't.
When you go see the person in front of you, to look at the feather from his side, you understand his vision. So not changing your own vision, but adjusting to the vision of the other person makes that you can understand. And when you put love into it, it's easier to see the other person's vision. Instead of the argument, you go in a loving matter. I don't know how to express it in English. In French, it's easy for me, but since the love is the source code of humanity. Okay, the big push in Earth is love. Okay, the big L. So
I agree with what you're saying, but I think there's probably some people that aren't as capable of looking at things from different angles. There's some people where it's really easy, And there's some people that it's a little bit more challenging for them to look at things in different ways. And for me, that's none of that's even relative to the fact of if you can respect a difference of opinion, then that's fine. It's all good. You can stay and have that one opinion forever as long as you respect other people's opinions. Then it leaves us all. The respect gives us the common ground, not the perspective.
But see, Thunder Bear, if everybody would be at the same evolution, how boring it would be. If all male on planet would be princes, prince, and all women would be princess, all dolled up. So you cannot compare. You cannot do. So they need to be layers in the physical form.
We need to have frogs. Is that what you're saying? There has to be frogs.
I'm a French frog. and that is part of the challenge of being a sentient being,
Yes.
Because the person with the lower, I'm sorry, but there is, in my teaching, in my learning, not my teaching, there is people with lower vibration or whatever, or newer life, newer karma, call it the way you want, okay? I don't want to degrade, or for me in French, if I translate, it's lower evolution. They as a human, they're there. Okay, you cannot expect them to be there. Okay, so they will always see the feather from there. They will never. But if you're there, you should be smarter than there. You should adjust to them.
I agree.
In a loving and respectful situation, they won't be. And you may help that person to move to the second level by sharing love.
I agree.
So it's I don't think as human we're here to fix all earth problem. We're here to experience it, live it, go through it, cries, laugh, feel pain a lot, feel sorrows, feel love. We're here for the experience as a sentient being, and we must go through all of this. It's part of the learning curve. So
absolutely.
So we need that. We actually need to be challenged. We actually need to go to learn. But if you keep in mind, and you can tell people with a lower level or lower understanding, hey, put love in your heart. I think I did share with you. My guy that was a bad guy there. When I go to the little cafe where he was, I say, hey, my friend, come here, I love you. He was so stunned he could not say nothing. And he was a bad guy. He would have beat 5 guys just to get at me. But because I used love against him, he was so not prepared for it. He was dumbfounded. It's okay. And he hugged me. He called me a gay guy, but he still hugged me, to look good, So, the guy had not the ability to show love or to express love, but when love was thrown at him, it changed him like that, After that, he gave me a speech, don't ever do that in front of my people again, But I say, hey, then every time he was pissing me off, I said, come here, my big boy, come, show me some love, That poop. He would turn around and just go do what I ask him, those big tough construction guys, Thunder Bear? Sometimes you gotta show them some love.
That was my dad.
Yeah?
I had to kill him with kindness. He used to reach out to shake my hand. I'd slap his hand, give him a hug.
Uh-oh.
I made him cry a couple of times.
I'm not a hugger, but I show love in different ways, so.
You become a hugger.
We know that. Because of you, I started to hug my mom again. I told her, I said, part of it is because I find her too skinny. I feel sad because I think she needs to put some weight. When I hug her, she shows, I feel bad, So I said, Mom, you're too skinny, put some weight on. So I hug you. I'm scared I'm going to
feel better. Yeah, that's it.
I'm scared I'm gonna break you, you know. And I went in Montreal. I saw my aunt. She's 4 foot something,
Yeah.
you know. And when I tried to hug her, she was on board. I said, "Where are you?" And she's skinnier than my mom. I said, "Come here, come slow. I can give you just a gentle hug, you know. I don't want to break you, you know." So, and I'm not that big, but you know, they
Is
were
that the
part
one
of
that we
it.
visited?
Yes. Yes. When we were in Montreal. Yes. So just changing the little conversation. Many people in the world today have faith in the fact that the sun is either going to get, and the world is going to tilt a certain way, and the days are going to get shorter, and the days are going to get longer here. Is that faith, or is that like knowledge?
I'm not sure I understand. You said that the sun's gonna
You cut
become
out a
hot.
little bit.
Right, Antonia?
You cut out a little bit in the beginning of what you were saying, so it's kind of hard to catch what you're saying.
So solstice is today, right?
Yeah.
And so many people will say in the southern hemisphere that this is winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, and the days are going to get longer now. And over here in the northern hemisphere, we're going to say it's the longest day of the year and the days are going to get shorter. Is that knowledge, or is that faith in the knowledge?
It's reality,
It's
Yeah.
both.
depending where you stand.
It's both.
There's no right, there's no wrong. It's where you stand. She stand under. But then again, is it under? Depending where you are. She might be up, we might be down. Who's looking? From which point of view? Always change.
What about the flat earth?
What about it?
Well, I've thrown a frisbee in the air and it stopped flying after a while, you know. And if you want to see the ice wall, come to Miscou in the winter. There's enough for everybody here.
Okay.
So,
Well, for the flat Earth theory, I've never been to the edge, so it could be true.
Exactly.
who knows?
Right? You just fly in one direction and then you get there. That's what I know.
Well, it could be flat, just with a slight curve, and it touches on the other side. I don't know.
Well, you guys met Jerry, you know, the one that died there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jerry was a flat earth.
Yeah.
Okay. And we went to a ceremony in Norwood, Ontario. Okay. And nobody had spoke of the person that was channeling, you know. And he had a question. At the end, you know, they say, hey, so if somebody has a question, and Jerry went, he said, well, by the way, Jerry, the earth is a sphere. they knew already, you know, and nobody had told them first time we meet them. But you know, said, by the way, Jerry, our earth is a sphere. It's not flat. So we cracked. I have the recording of it. Gee, we cracked laughing. And he had on his bin, his garbage bin, you know, flat earth. And when we came back, he scratched it all up. Okay. But then again, how did earth was created? How did all that was created? Jerry was a fervent believer in the vortex theory, you know. So it's a big theory there, but and they explained through the channeling that Earth was created through a vortex. You know, it's gathering of matter together. You know, so. But if you guys want the recording, I have it. You know.
Yeah.
What
No,
is it?
it's okay. It doesn't really impact my day whether it's flat or it's round. So far, I haven't had that experience of
Walking turtle, nothing impact your day beside yourself. Sorry. We can't change you. I told you, stay the same. We love you this way.
I think if we get into flat Earth and stuff, it leads you down the path of, well, you know, the people that have gone out into space have seen that the Earth is round, and then it gets into the conversation of, well, did they really go out into space? Did they touch on the moon? Does it? And it's just, It's like going down the rabbit's hole, isn't it?
Well, Tanya, if
Yes.
it's flat and you're supposed to be under, why are you there?
I don't say I'm under. I say I'm around the side.
Oh,
I'm going
yeah,
around the
okay.
side.
Well, I'll say I thought about you the other day because I looked before going to Montreal. I look at my summer T-shirt. I went through. I have but it's Tasmanian. I have a T-shirt. It's a big Tasmanian devil. I say, since it's close to Tanya,
No,
Not
nowhere
there
near
yet? Huh?
No, nowhere near me is.
Well, Tasmania is not that far, no?
Oh,
Yeah, well, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's closer to you than it is to us because
Yes,
it's south
yes.
of Australia. Okay,
Yes.
See, in our brain, you're close to Tasmania.
there you go.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, in
So-
my brain. Well, it made me thought about you. So I said,
Yeah.
it's my Tasmanian devil.
At least it was the Tasmanian part and not the devil part that made him think of you. There you go. No, just
You said so, not me. See?
It was a flat devil.
So basically, we haven't made any decisions on anything, which is like normal because we all just have a perspective.
So if you want to summarize our day,
That's it.
what's the conclusion?
Blind faith, I like that. Blind faith is when you're attached to something of your strong beliefs and you refuse to entertain any other concepts. Faith is having some belief to follow something that each of us have come to have a personal experience with, that we believe that that's called faith.
Having trust is something you can't see.
Well,
Yeah.
trust in something you can't see. There's so much that we can't see. There's more that we can't see than we can.
Can you see faith? Or you still believe it? You don't see it.
No, I don't see it.
I think I'm not sure how to answer that, but I think weak faith is different than strong faith, and strong faith isn't what most people think it is. To have strong faith means you are able to change, and to have weak faith means you just refuse to change. And lots of people think that strong faith means that you already know what you know and there's not much else to do. Like when we were on that one place where we stopped at that restaurant on that one reserve, and the one lady's going like, I'm really strong in my faith. I'm really strong in my faith. And for me, what I'm hearing people say when they say that is, I am not changing because this is what I believe. I am not changing because this is what I believe. And to me, that's weak faith. That's very, very weak faith. Because faith that you're going to be okay and that there is a God and there is a creator means you can vary from what you think and be safe. Like you can kind of ebb and flow in the universe and you can be safe instead of just having this razor's edge to walk on. And when you step off that, you're going to hell. Like it's not good. That's a horrible place to live.
Is
So
it
it's a
faith
little bit
or
of
belief?
trusting that it is.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Sorry. Listening to what you're saying, it makes me think that there's a lack of trust, that what they have faith in is
Yes.
that they believe it, that they trust that it is, there's
But-
doubt
but-
in that.
well, is it faith or beliefs in something?
That's
Could be
splitting hairs. I think it gets down to that. I think I used to say to people all the time, if you say the same prayer every single night, I think after a while it's kind of proof that you don't think God's listening.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Is you ask and you shall receive, and that's one of the things when I say to people, it's like when you're letting go of your burden and you're wanting transformation. You keep saying, "I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go." Right? Or I want to. It's like you haven't done it. So
Trying to convince yourself.
when you really let go of something, that's what I used to say. If you're giving something away, you give it away. You give it down to the store. You don't go back to the store. maybe some people do, and go, "Come, I gave you that. Can I have it back?" Right? So people just mentally, as you said, they continually pray because they doubt that they're going to get it. Because that would be, for me, faith is you ask and then you keep walking in the direction that you think for yourself you're guided or you're being led. You don't know if you're going to get, that's where you're going to get. Like, as you were saying to me the other day, Greg, when I said about the car, and you're like, well, just you take a step in that direction, right? You take a step in those directions and where you're going, and you might get to where you think you're going, or you might end up in the forest over here in Mi'kmaq land, which was never in the plan.
So your faith is attached to actions.
My faith is whatever I feel like whatever is attached to action, or is action just comes from a result of it.
So they go and it ends.
Yes.
But it cares.
I'd like to see it said without the word attached. I think faith is action.
I'm French, sorry.
Is faith action? Because sometimes faith is doing
Standing
nothing.
still and yeah.
Well,
So is
that's
that action?
that's
But
your
that's
action.
an action.
Okay. Is that
Next,
a verb? Is that like my English language thing? Action, rest is a verb, and so that is an action.
next week we do the StreamYard in French. I might sound intelligent then.
This is the only way we keep you sort of under control, Danny.
Yeah, you lost me. Yeah, I'd lose you in French. That's for sure.
Can we get subtitles?
Huh?
Can we get subtitles? Then you can speak in French and it'll just kind of say it across the bottom of the screen.
You won't understand my meaning in French.
The only one I know.
I'm gonna go way off the rail. Trust me.
Okay.
I got more ways of expressing myself in French than in English. Sorry. Oh, so.
So if I could, I'd be playing George Michael's song now. You know, the one that says, "You gotta have faith, faith, faith. Yeah, gotta have faith, faith, faith." Okay, so somewhere along the line, you gotta have it.
So should we be faithful or full of faith?
Full of faith.
Full of something.
Well, I'm about to go, so
Okay, so on may you all be full of something.
Thanks. I feel better now.